Good evening, everybody. So, getting ready for Monday morning for when the fast starts. Just make sure you've got everything in, everything prepped. Now, when we talk about the apple cider vinegar, the Bragg's is the best one, the one that we screenshot I put up. You can get that all in bars, you can get it in chemists, stuff like that. Now, you can get apple cider vinegar in the likes of Sainsbury's and Tesco's, but it's a salad dressing. It's not the same thing. It's not going to have the same potency, and it's also got some sugar in it, so we don't want that. That's why that Bragg's one is the best one. You'll buy a wee bottle for £5 or something from the chemist. So the hydration drink we're going to take every morning. When we get further into the week, we'll be taking that twice a day, probably around first thing in the morning and around lunchtime as the week goes on. So what you use, a small glass of water, cap full of apple cider vinegar. If you're slightly larger like me, and I mean larger as in muscular wise big, like I'm 16 stone, I take 2 capfuls. Most of you space the ladies, 1 capful's enough. Squeeze a lemon and 3 grains of salt. Now salt, pink Himalayan salt is actually the best because it's got over 82 minerals. And remember, from a hydration point, minerals are your electrolytes. But Celtic salt, rock salt, sea salt, all those are pretty much the same thing. You know, we're not going to, it's not that big a difference, to be quite honest. So whatever one you use, but not table salt. Table salt's not any, there's not any minerals in it. It's not an electrolyte. So we get that ready for first thing on Monday morning. Also your protein shake. You're going to break your fast every day with a protein shake, 2 scoops, right? And that's going to be about half an hour before what your first meal will be. So say, for example, this is just an example, your first meal is 1 o'clock on Monday, and about 12:30 you're going to have your protein shake with 2 scoops. Now, whey is the better protein for this. It doesn't have to be. You can use the beef isolate, you can use different ones. But the reason why I like whey is it's slightly slower digestion. Alright, so when you start to eat your first meal, you're not going to feel like you want to gorge as much because you've got the 2 scoops of protein in you, specifically the whey one. It's harder to digest. So it makes you feel fuller for longer. Because one of the sort of downsides to fasting, and I know I experience this quite a lot, is the fasting's fine, but once I eat something, I find it very hard to stop eating because you just want to get that gorge because you get the big massive insulin spike. So the protein shakes helps to blunt that a wee bit. Also, what we want to think about then too is what that first meal is going to consist of. Now, if we're doing longer fast, for example, what we will be doing on Monday, which will be, your first meal will be at 1 o'clock until 8 o'clock, so it'll be a 7-hour eating window. Your first meal should be primarily protein and fats and no carbohydrates. Carbohydrates should be in the meal after that. For example, scrambled eggs, poached eggs, boiled eggs, and avocados or bacon. No carbs. You can have your carbs in the meals after that. Also, the importance of the protein shake. 2 scoops is going to give you about 40 grams of protein. The minimum protein you should be having per day is about 80 to 100 grams. Now, when you're fasting, that becomes very difficult because you're not eating. So at least the protein shake, as well as doing what I said about the digestion and slowing down, the insulin spike, and also making you feel fuller for longer before that first meal. It's also making sure you're getting the right amount of protein in that day, because once we get into the slightly longer fast and you have less meal opportunities, it gets slightly harder to hit that protein. The reason why this is so important, and this is one of the number one important things, this is probably the most important thing of fasting, is you need to hit your protein. Because if you don't, you start to burn muscle tissue. And when you burn muscle tissue, you always rebound after your diet because your body always wants to put that muscle tissue. We get these big hunger spikes. So we're trying to avoid the rebound as much as possible. We want to go hardcore on this. We want to go really, really strict, really tight, get the best we can from it, like 6 pound in 5 days is about the minimum I would be expecting from most people, so probably more from a few. Please do remember that the more you have to lose, the easier it is, the more you will lose. So if someone's is holding maybe about 3 or 4 stone, they're going to drop pretty much a stone. If someone's going to get a maximum of a stone to lose, you're not going to lose the same amount of weight, so it doesn't really work the same. So have realistic expectations as well of what you want to do. We'll be doing more videos like this along the way, so just get ready for Monday. Have your hydration, drink ready. That is very important, because one of the downsides of fasting, one of the things that stops people from doing the fasts or continuing fasting or even enjoying fasting, because I want it to be enjoyable for you, because I enjoy it, I love it, because once you start to get the nuances of it and why it's good and what you're going to get from it and how it helps you control calorie consumption and all that kind of stuff, it's a great tool to have in your life. So you want to make this as an enjoyable experience as possible. So one of the downsides is people get headaches. And the headaches is from dehydration, and also fatigue, which is from dehydration, and also they feel that they're hungry, which is actually dehydration. So all the main downsides of fasting can be prevented by just keeping your body well hydrated, right? That is the main key, because you have to remember, right? And I want you to remember this. It's just kind of like your mantra for any time you're doing fasting. You're not hungry as long as there's fat in your body. Your body might be sending out a hunger signal hormone called ghrelin, which is just a signal to say eat, but it doesn't mean you're actually fucking hungry or starving. So, oh, I'm starving, I haven't eaten since fucking 8 o'clock. You've got body fat's fuel. You have to train your body to happen, right? So you're not hungry.